Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinks and Movies with your hosts, Bearded Comic Bro and John from John's Comics with Kids. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for Drinks and Movies.
Yo! 2 weeks in a row with the Drinks and Movies show, but tonight, that doesn't say movies.
It doesn't. We've changed it up. We flipped the script a little bit. Because we were doing holiday movies last week, and we were trying to figure out, we can do something again this week before we go on a little holiday break and pick things back up in January. And you're like, what about TV shows? And we're like, well, it's a Drinks and Movie shows. But we thought, what if we throw up? Boom.
Slap
TV.
That banner on there.
Slap that banner over. And bam.
And
here we go.
let's get one shot deeper on this. We decided to sort of combine in a weird way two pop culture shows that I've done over the years. We got the Drinks and Movies, but we're combining the top 5 because we got Fire Guy Ryan here.
That show kind of hit a roadblock when the topic was top 5 90s covers or something. And I was like thinking about that for a solid several months. Like, I hate the 90s. I like the Green Lantern cover with the rings. And I guess I'll pick the Green Hulk cover because that's green.
So for people that don't know, I did a show, and you can find the playlist, top 5 with Ryan. Lots of great content, by the way. Very entertaining. But I will argue that the roadblock we hit was bigger than that. The roadblock is probably Ryan is a meticulous researcher who wants to devour. So when we were like James Bond, he's like, I gotta watch 25 James Bond movies. I'm not doing that shit. And so I was like, okay,
I don't have it in my head,
anything we threw out, he's like, I need 2 months. I need 2 months to prep. I need to watch everything that's been done about this.
That's just my way to stall.
And I love that literally it still your Babylon 5 one still pops up on my homepage. And here's what's great is this was in the early stages of you guys doing YouTube because your thumbnail literally gives away your top 5.
It does, right there, right on it.
It has a picture of young John, and then right behind him is his top 5 list. You don't even have to click the video to find out what his top 5 was.
Right there.
It was the most spoiler of all.
It's amazing. Yeah,
that was me. That was on my channel. And to be fair, Tessa is the only reason I have any thumbnails on any of my videos, which was the most recent one.
Shout out to her. She's in the chat approving the thumbnail by the Bearded Clan.
That's right. The thumbnails are always a bearded collaboration.
We got
professional
Guzman.
Yes, I do the elf ears.
I appreciate that. I look real good.
We got Chris from Chaos and Comics in the chat. We got Tony the Old Wolf in the chat. Is Ryan the late one? I would argue I was probably the late one, but I was just talking.
Oh, don't worry. I said that in the chat.
Oh, there you go. Coach Vic says, I didn't know this began a champagne. No.
The thumbnail. Campaign. You guys are all classy.
The champagne thumbnail. We have champagne.
Oh, yeah. We're still rocking that.
It's just such a good photo. We can't not use it.
Yeah. My fist looks giant because I was doing this move, but it's impressive. I'm not an early bird. Actually, in many ways, I am just not for you. I'm not a YouTube early bird. I'm a YouTube.
On Saturdays, you are.
I try. Corks out of the bottles. We got John's fault. Yes, fact. Throwing me under the bus. Oh, acceptable. John Stout. What's going on, my man? Let's see. Loving the outfit from Tessa. There you go. Let's see here. Stout says yes. Hi, hello. Air Spider. Good to see you, my man. How you doing? And as always, the guy that we kind of do the show for. Gore Vidal in the chat. He says, evening, great way to wind down after rewatching The Piano. Great movie. Beautifully pained film I saw almost 30 years ago. Earlier saw Power of the Dog, another film by Jane Campion. Sorry.
Gore does not have a channel, correct? Or any sort of presence?
He does not. His presence is in our chats.
I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Gore, I felt like you did a comic book review on one time, I think it was of Carmen or something. I thought
that's true.
I think you did one, and because I remember, I'm like, yes, this is what I want.
If Old Wolf can drop the link for that, that'd be awesome. Good luck finding it. I would be impressed if you can.
I don't think I want to watch it. I like him best as a disembodied, just chat bot, basically. Yeah. He's just in the chats, all the chats.
But always dropping these incredibly intelligent knowledge blocks. You know,
Suspiciously intelligent.
maybe. So for those who don't know, yeah, this is the show where we have a little drink, we hang out, chit chat, and go through something with pop culture. And tonight, like Greg mentioned, episodes of television centered around Christmas and the holidays. We're kind of avoiding Thanksgiving, just so you know. So when we say holidays, we really mean the Yule time of the year. And so several shows did this annually for a while. Mm-hmm. So lots of television shows you could go and make a list of 5 of their own Christmas episodes. So lots of goodness happening there. Gore saying, I do a channel, don't post often, always enjoy this show. Thank you, sir.
I don't post often either. I have a channel too.
I mean, and the link, by the way, to his channel and his channel right down below. So you can subscribe and check it out.
Or subscribe and be disappointed.
So let's go around the horn.
Well, don't speak for both of us here, Ryan.
I meant in my case. That's what I said. I mean, you might be disappointed with Greg too, but that's a different, he actually does things.
Yeah. Greg, what are you drinking tonight, man?
So I'm drinking little Mitchner's.
Ooh. Little Kentucky rye. Nice.
Yeah. So
1753. That's an old bottle. Classy man.
Only the best for you, Ryan.
He's got to blow the dust off it. Right. And then Fire Guy, you were having a brew, I believe. What are you drinking?
I grabbed some sort of winter ale from Ninkasi Brewing Company down in Portland.
I love how it's in the Slayer. Yeah, it's in the Slayer font, like the band.
I appreciate that too. I've never tried it before. It's pretty good, but it's very Christmassy.
Wonderful.
I figured it was appropriate.
Yeah. Oh, I'm having some red wine, some Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm having precision.
You bougie. You bougie up in here.
This was a gift from a parent at the school where I work.
What year?
So I thought.
What vintage?
Is that what you say? It's a 2021.
It's a 2020, actually.
It's a good year.
It was not for life on this planet, but for wine, apparently solid. I'm enjoying it. Let's see. Someone was hanging out with Caroline and Chris. Now they're coming here. I think that was a step down or sideways, but I'm glad you're here.
He's saying that
flash sideways.
We'll go back. Chris was saying
he
went to the chat on his, and that you could go to the channel to people in the chat again, but not here.
What does that mean? I'm having trouble deciphering.
In YouTube, you used to be able to click on people's names, and you could go to their channel. Whenever you saw somebody in the chat, but they changed it a long time ago so that you couldn't do it. I didn't know that some channels were allowing it and some are not. Maybe it's a button I need to click somewhere.
I can do it right now. It's letting me.
So in my chat, you can click on Gore Vidal and go to his channel.
I can.
I can't in the YouTube chat.
There he is.
So maybe it's something we have to.
I don't know.
Weird.
Why are you on your phone, Greg?
Subscribe.
I'm on my phone. Maybe if I'm on my computer, it's
no. He's doing it on his phone. That's what I'm saying.
That was on my iPad, so I don't know.
Maybe it's an
Tessa
Android
says
thing.
she can't. Yeah.
Tessa's got Apple too, so maybe it's just a superiority.
Yeah.
Thing.
I don't know. Well, that's really not what we're here to do, anyways. Good luck to you all for finding each other's channels. Tonight, though, we're going to be discussing great holiday episodes of television. We've each picked out 5, and we're going to kind of go through a little bit about some of them, and cats will sit on us. That's kind of the evening plan.
I'm not going to jump on the comments.
If a cat sits on me, we're going to have an issue because we haven't had a pet in this house.
And same here. It's going to be weird. Does Ryan have a wrench? I don't believe Ryan does, but Ryan's never in the chat, so why would he need a wrench?
Because you told him to drop a link and he doesn't have a wrench.
Yeah.
No, I said Tony could drop the link.
Yeah, Tony said he's like, I can't. I don't have a wrench.
Tony doesn't have a wrench?
Yeah.
Man, I suck at this.
You're like, hey, Tony, drop the link. He's like, I can't. I'm not ready.
Got a link. All right, I'll work on that. That's on my to-do list. We're really off to an amazing start.
We're almost 10 minutes in.
It's been 10 minutes of this. Anybody who's watching this on the replay is like, are they going to talk about a TV show at some point?
Unsubscribe now.
Yeah, now's your moment.
Let's be honest. If they're watching this show, they know what they're expecting to get.
That's probably fair. So then I'm going to jump right in. Greg, give us one of your picks. What do you got here, man?
Ooh, what was the first one I sent you?
Geez, now you're asking so much of me.
I have it open actually. I looked earlier to find an episode to watch.
Go to 30 Rock. I'll do 30 Rock.
All right, there we go.
30 Rock.
The Ludachristmas.
Yeah, so this is always a tough one. I was talking to you guys. I had like 34 episodes on my list that I was just going to try and see if I could cruise through. And man, 30 Rock has always been a go-to show of mine. And man, Ludachristmas is hilarious because you get the insanity of the writers and Tracy Morgan's character, that storyline. And then you have the storyline of Liz Lemon and I'm blanking on Alec Baldwin's character's name.
Jack Donaghy.
Jack Donaghy. You know, and his mom comes in, and so you have your token like, hey, we're gonna rage all out Christmas party, and you have the young page Kenneth trying to like, I'm gonna teach you guys the ways of Christmas. Which leads to Tracy Morgan just going like, I want to cut down the tree in Rockefeller Center. And like he starts a riot mob running out of the building. Yeah. Well, then the other story you have is you have this kind of ideal perfect family of Liz Lemons. Everyone's happy. And Jack Donaghy is trying to keep his mother away from that family because everything she touches, like she destroys. Yeah. And so her kind of Christmas mission is like to prove that this family isn't as good as they think they are, or they project that they are. And man, I enjoy it. It's a fun one to go to all the time.
What I like about the episode too is the way that everybody has like an element of play at what Christmas means to them, and it's like all of it is so bizarre and wonderfully like scatterbrained that it's perfectly captures that whole cast.
Yeah, because you have Kenneth and his religious aspect of Christmas. You have Tracy Morgan's like, hey, this is just a party, give me stuff kind of aspect.
Yes.
You have Liz Lemon like it's about family. Jack Donaghy's kind of the hey, I'm gonna work and ignore my family kind of mindset. Like you have all the classic tropes.
Yes. So Ryan, are you a 30 Rock fan? You ever watched 30 Rock?
I did. So when I was working at the hotel, I got a tablet relatively late in my overnight hotel career. I was just reading books on Kindle for like several years, and that got boring. So I decided to get a tablet and just have all this free time to like watch stuff. And I made a conscious effort to go through and watch all of the classic sitcoms, or at least what I had deemed to be classic worthy sitcoms, because I was working on my own sitcom at the time, trying to write my own. So I wanted to kind of absorb the classics, and I have done one full watch of 30 Rock. So none of the episodes really stand out.
What were 3 of the 4 sitcoms you were really like trying to clear out? Like, and get
I watched all of Seinfeld. I watched all of 30 Rock. I watched all of Parks and Rec. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
That's a solid trio right there. That's a
lot. I got kind of lost in the swamp of HBO though. I had a good, several years.
Hard right turn.
Yeah, the best detour.
Gore is throwing out the American and English versions of The Office, having some great Christmas episodes. Definitely some very, very good entertainment in there. So that's a great pick, and I just watched Ludachristmas like in this last week when we were doing this, because I was like, I remember this episode being hilarious, and it definitely lived up to it. And I think it's streaming on Netflix for those that want to see 30 Rock. I thought they were on Netflix
in this episode.
No, that's the downfall of it. There's no Ludacris in Ludachristmas.
No, they are not going to all be sitcoms, and I would say I think only 2 of my 5 are what you could consider to be sitcoms.
More of mine are going to be sitcoms, yes. But
because
and I will say this, I kind of did base my picks off a little bit of knowing John and Ryan well enough that I had an idea of what they were going to pick. Like I knew John's pick right off the bat. I'm like, this is going to be it.
Yeah. I think Ryan only has 1 that's not a sitcom, and I've got 3 that aren't sitcoms, because I
only have 1 that is a sitcom.
I tend to lean away. What I mean by sitcom, and now we should definitely at some point get into the discussion of what is this, what do you qualify? But I'm basically using that to mean anything that's a 30-minute comedy show or less. That's what I'm going to qualify. All of that stuff goes at comedy versus dramas, and I would say I've got 3 out of 5 as hour-long drama shows.
Okay,
right.
That's what I was basically implying.
Okay. Then I agree with you.
As far as sitcoms, like actually, I don't think any of us have like old school. Actually, maybe one old school laugh track sitcom style, like single camera sitcom style. No, sorry, 3 camera sitcom style. All right, Ryan.
In his face of approval.
Where do you want to start off, Ryan? What do you want to do
so
first?
I need to do like a disclaimer.
Yes,
something.
I want the disclaimer.
I'm very picky with my television and movies. I am a John's Comics with Kids level like snob, and I've come to learn that like there are
So good.
when I use like the film snob, there's a couple of ways that I describe myself as John's Comics with Kids style, and like just being a cranky asshole is kind of
Wow.
how I
Okay,
like
keep
contrarian,
coming.
Like how you are about Batman. You know,
It's been so long since I've had you on the show, and I'm realizing why.
That's fair. That's very fair. There's certain things that I just define as John's Comics with Kids style, and one of them, you and I share a certain level of film snobbery, and
Yes.
that
You're both pretentious.
Thank you. Yes,
I mean,
I
that's
will
another
admit
way
to
to
that.
put it. Actually, it feels like a nicer way to put it, but yeah.
Thank you. It sounds cooler. But I have a very high bar when it comes to like stuff I consume. Like, I should be not food, but media. I really have a high bar with media that I consume, and I don't like to waste my time with sitcoms, so to speak. So like, ooh, good choice.
That was on my list.
Several
I'm gonna
Several shows have more than one really good Christmas episode. We were trying
Yeah.
to keep it like spread the wealth a little bit. Where do you want to
Several
go,
of my
Ryan?
picks. I have a couple. Honestly, the first one I'm going to throw out here is from The Sopranos, which is my favorite show of all time. And I like this picture. The only I did not rewatch this episode in order to prepare for this show because the only moment that comes to mind is it's one like specific short scene from this episode of The Sopranos where I don't know why they do this, but they hang out at the back of this pork store, which is like their gang hangout for the mob. And one of their guys is a bigger dude. Used to play as Santa. Used to dress up as Santa, and all the neighborhood kids would come into the back of this sketchy pork store and sit on this mobster's lap. And I guess they would get presents or something. I don't really know why they did it, but it turns out that guy was a rat, was a snitch. And so they had to whack him, right? Because it's Sopranos. And
oh, it was just gonna get good, and then he froze up.
He's like, they gotta whack
He
him.
froze
And
right
then he
when it
just
got. It
froze.
was like, and you're like and it was like.
I'm sorry. I'll blame the
back.
cat.
Okay.
Okay. Where did I
So they were
freeze?
just about
'Cause
to
I
whack
talked.
him, Ryan.
They're about to whack him.
They whacked the guy who was he was an awesome Santa Claus, but that wasn't enough to cancel out the fact that he was a Fed, like a snitch, you know?
Right. No, that doesn't balance out.
It doesn't balance. He's a good Santa, but he's an informant. So
Yeah.
Can't keep him. So they have to get this other guy to dress up as Santa for the next year, and he is terrible at it. He has no charisma. He is telling kids to like wait their turn and single file, and like he doesn't say ho ho ho, and he's not cheerful. And he catches one of the kids in the line who came back around for a second try. He's this little hoodlum kid, and he's trying to be tough. And he's like, "I saw you. You were in the line already. You get back and you go home." And the kid just says, "F you, Santa," really loudly to his face, and everybody in the background's like, "Oh," because it's
Santa.
Sopranos. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a very funny scene of this kid swearing at Santa Claus and these like murderers getting down on their knees and being like, "You don't talk like that to Santa. Go apologize." And it's a really weird, like real moment. And when you told me that I was going to be on a show with favorite Sopranos moments, favorite Christmas moments, that came to mind. Very
For
quickly.
sure.
So,
I just want to sound clip that though of Ryan going, "Oh."
you should.
Cut
I'll
it.
do it again.
Somebody
too.
clip that. Right.
It's a great
So-
1 minute clip on YouTube that anybody can search for if they feel so inclined.
Do you remember what season of Sopranos this was, give or take?
Season 3, near the middle or end? I don't remember.
Probably
it's a good
nearing
one.
the middle because usually the Christmas episodes are around Christmas time.
That makes sense.
Give or take. Right.
So that's my
so
first
like,
pick. I'll get that out of the way.
as an absolute Sopranos like idiot, like I know so little about. I know 4 episodes of The Sopranos because those are the only first 4 that I've watched. Never got past the first disc of the Netflix season ordering that I was doing when that first came around. Can you hit me with the emotional impact of the episode a little bit? Like what's the gist of the hour?
The whole hour was kind of like Tony Soprano, the main character, sort of the absence of his old friend the guy they had to murder, the absence of him is kind of stirring up all these memories, and there's a lot of flashbacks in this episode, and he's kind of remorseful and regrets. Bobby Bacala as Santa. There we go. It was a very poor performance, and it's great comedy, but the overall episode is filled with kind of this sort of remorse, and like it's the first time they brought the actor back to kind of reprise the role after being gone for a year. So it's weird all around. Good stuff. But I love that show, and I could talk about it.
Oh, so the episode, they didn't whack him in the episode. He was killed earlier in the series, and they were doing flashbacks of when he was Santa.
Correct. And then
because there's a new Santa now.
Gotcha. Even better. I like that.
Yep. And it's like a weird way to it's this funny scenario with Santa Claus and like all these kids, but like they tie it in with this kind of guilt and sadness and loss. It's a good hour.
Nice.
It's a weird Christmassy kind of episode.
I need to try The Sopranos. It is one I've not. I didn't even do the first disc thing like John. I just haven't tried it yet.
I think it's like The Wire. It kind of takes a while to hit its stride, and I don't really like the first season of The Sopranos as much as the rest. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I do need to give it a shot again at some point. It's hard to convince my wife. She's not a big gangster show kind of person. It took me forever to get her to watch The Wire. Admittedly, when she got around to it, she was like super into it, but it just took a lot of convincing. And finally, it was like, let's really go for this.
Sopranos is so much easier than The Wire too. The Wire requires concentration and study.
No,
and you gotta follow
on that level. I agree. The harder part for me on The Sopranos and for my wife on Sopranos is generally on the what I got from those first 4 episodes was I don't like any of these people. I don't want to stick around. I don't want to hang out with them. I don't want to enjoy this. I don't enjoy this. This is painful. So I didn't connect to anybody or want to be drawn into hanging out with these people for hours on end. And that's the challenge.
I'm drawn to shows
Breaking Bad did the same thing for me, where it was like, this is painful to watch.
Well,
I'm drawn to shows with despicable
I think Gore
people.
says what John wanted to say, just better.
Yes, I agree. That's what I was just saying. The shows with terrible people are my favorites, and Seinfeld is a terrific example.
Yeah, and Chris is right. That's the worst way to get me to watch a series is it'll take a season or 2 to get into.
It just takes 13 hours or so, and then it gets good.
Nah, because I rip on him. I think Chaos is one of the few I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. people out there still, but he's 3 seasons in.
All right, I'm gonna do one. Let's see here. I'll do. Let's try something a little more. I'll do something a little more modern. I'll do my most modern pick. I'm gonna go with Ted Lasso's Christmas episode from just this last year. They did an episode focusing on what the holidays are like for these characters who are all really except for a rare 1 or 2 exceptions. The series focuses on a group of characters who are away from their homes. Ted in particular, obviously all the way in another country. A lot of the players coming from other countries around the world. Most of them not being able to go home for the holidays. And then the 2 lead characters you saw in that picture, both suffering from divorce, basically having no family to spend time with. It really looks at how you make your own family and the impact of that. I thought there were some really great moments. Ted trying to have a Skype Christmas and completely not realizing how a kid wants to open a present and go play with it, which is not a Skype friendly thing. And he's stuck talking to his ex-wife, which is really awkward and uncomfortable. And then his boss, who's also going through divorce, decides to do this great thing, which is take him on a little journey with her where she spends a Christmas doing this gift giving activity with him that I think is really impactful for him, so that he is not just sitting getting drunk by himself wishing he was with his family. You had a question, Ryan?
I did. I raised my hand. What is this show about?
So Ted Lasso is
team.
It is about soccer, but I mean, the pitch I always tell people is it's about mental health. That's the real focus of the show. Ted is a football coach, an American football coach, who's going through a really difficult divorce, and he gets an offer to coach soccer at the premier level in England. And he says yes because his wife wants him to want some space, and he figures he'll give her a lot of it. And he flies to merry old England and becomes a professional soccer coach, and is trying to implement his methods in a sport he totally doesn't understand, in a country that he's not familiar with. Meanwhile, the woman running the team has just gone through her own messy divorce and got the team from her ex-husband. And so she's wanting to kind of run it into the ground as a way to dig him. So she hired Ted to watch the team fail. But as she gets to know him, she starts to feel a lot of guilt for this. And it's really
Major League
balancing it.
Major League, but with the coach rather than players.
There you go. That's a simple way to look at it. And then the players,
but that's again, sorry, that's thinking Ryan actually has seen Major League.
No idea what that even is.
Yeah. So it centers around Ted and his boss, the owner of the team, both going through divorce and dealing with the mental trauma of that. And then the second season really gets into sports psychology too. There's a lot about mental breakdowns, anxiety, depression, all of these heavy kind of mental health concepts, but done through the guise of sports medicine in some ways. The sports side of the show is really little, and the human side is much bigger.
I will say the sports side was heavier in the first season. It definitely has shrunk off in the second season. You'll appreciate this, Ryan, because of our conversation where we were talking about how they made a MacGruber movie and TV show off of like a 2-minute clip. So Ted Lasso originally it aired, I think, like 6 or 7 years ago on NBC. Ted Lasso's character was a commercial promoting the Premier League coming to NBC. And so they were doing that, like they were doing the Ted Lasso character for like a 4-minute kind of commercial promo on NBC like 6 years ago. And someone was like, hey, why don't we turn this into a TV show? And they finally got it, because
it took a while.
They tried that with what? The caveman commercials, the Geico caveman. They made that up.
Yeah.
Let's not recount that.
So, but
Thunderhouse is making a great point too about the Ted Lasso Christmas episode, because the show dropped over the summer. It was weird to watch a Christmas episode in July. That was a strange kind of decision, but it was an executive
not if you celebrate
choice.
Christmas in July.
Not if you don't care and just want to enjoy it. But it's a really good Christmas episode. It also includes, and I haven't gotten to this part yet, one of the best like Love Actually homages that I've ever seen. Like they do a great job of having the most irascible player on the team. His niece is going through a difficult time at school because she's being teased and heckled. And so they take her to the boy's house who's been heckling her, and she does the little like sign holding up outside of his house thing to like basically shame him. It is hilarious. And the build up to it is perfection.
Yeah.
To take a modern kind of Christmassy, cheesy Christmas movie, it's very British, and then spin it for a little kid. It's hilarious. Really, really well done.
I thought you were going to say Ted Lasso has the best collection of GIFs.
It absolutely does. It absolutely
certainly does. I still hate you for that day.
It was such a good day.
You and your Ted Lasso and you and your I think you should leave now gift. Those are the only gifts I ever use to communicate to people now.
That's fair. I'll accept it.
That's the most accurate description of this program that you're going to probably find tonight. So there you go.
But it's on Apple TV, so like who cares? Who can watch it?
Yeah, you gotta. If you update your iPhone, get a new iPhone. There you go. They give you a year.
Just did a claymation 4-minute episode,
which was such a.
So like, I need 4 minutes. I need an Apple product to watch this show. Is that what that means?
No, you just
they give you a year for free when you get a new Apple product.
Yeah,
they just give.
So I have to go buy an iPhone.
Wow, you're really not hearing me, Ryan. But all right, I appreciate your efforts.
I refuse to buy an iPhone.
You
iPad.
can download the app on any device that you own and pay $5. Or if you had bought
it's just like Hulu. It's just an app. Like you can download the app on any, like on your Roku or whatever.
I thought it was like
my phone. I'm getting reimbursed my payments because
I thought it was like bad idea where they just don't let anybody watch their stuff. And like,
I think your hate for Apple is distracting you in this.
Yes,
only surpassed by my hate for Amazon,
which I can appreciate that. I like that you're out there doing that.
I'm not out anywhere doing anything.
I think we're back to Greg again.
Yes. So, all right, let's just derail the show completely. Since you guys are talking about hour-long shows and comedy shows, and so I'm gonna throw one because Tessa's gonna fall asleep eventually, so I better throw this out soon. Right. I picked the OC, the best Chrismukkah ever episode.
There you go.
Gang, we're talking about, if you didn't watch the OC, it was a four season show. Let's really be honest, it was a 3-season show. We don't count the 4th season.
Sure.
But
I don't remember
so
it, so
Seth, who is right there in the middle in the suit, his mother celebrates the Christian aspect of Christmas, the Christmas side, and then his father, they celebrate Hanukkah. And so as a kind of kid who felt like he was pulled into 2 different things, you know, kind of just traditions, he decided to merge and make his own tradition, and he called it Christmaka. And I was rewatching this episode with my wife this week, and it's interesting. I feel like a lot of these, I will say the benefit of a half-hour show compared to an hour-long show when they do a Christmas special is, I feel like the half-hour comedy specials, it's a more contained story where you can pop on a half-hour episode easier than like the Sopranos episode or a Christmaka episode, because you don't have the history of some of the characters and are invested in them. But I will say this, like, it just is funny to see like the different aspects of, you know, Seth Cohen trying to figure out. I said the OC, and I'm not ashamed to say it. So I have the seasons right there. I mean, it came out right now. For me, it came out when I was in college. So right when, you know, and it's that trying to hit that 90210 vibe for us kids, you know, at that age in the Melrose Place. So like, I get it. It's not like it's prime time, like Emmy winning TV, but it hit the right itch for where I was in college. And it just was funny. And, you know, like one of the girls gets drunk at a party, and she's having issues with her mental health, and, you know, she's drinking in the car, and the guy who's driving has, you know, past records and things like that. And a cop pulls him over, and they're about to get busted, and he gets a call on another radio, and he has to leave them. And gang, it was a Christmaka miracle, as Seth would say. And, you know, so it's just some things like that were going on, and it just is an entertaining show for sure.
And I will legitimately say I watched the whole run of that show, and those Christmaka episodes. There's 3, right? They're all really good.
Yeah,
but all very entertaining.
Oh yeah. And if you watch season 4 that no one does, you get a very young Chris Pratt as a like hippie kicking hacky sack.
Kid.
Absolutely. I believe we're back around to Fire Guy.
I just gotta say, I didn't think John watched the OC out of like. I guess you have to. They probably.
I lived it. It's like Veronica Mars, right?
They probably include it with your like deed to your house when you move into a place there. It's like, hey, you're gonna be here.
You know how it's like how John's like made a comment about how YouTube just put their album on your iPhone.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you buy a house, it just comes with the OC.
It does. Yeah.
Set.
Out here.
So
the Real Housewives of OC.
In the very beginning of the OC, when Sandy Cohen is driving Ryan into Newport Beach for the first time, and he's looking at the back seat of the car, he's like, "Oh my God, look at all these rich people's houses, and I can't believe how cool this place is." That's how I felt when John drove me to his house in like the Laguna Hills and stuff, and I'm just this like ghetto outskirts of Seattle kid, and like here I am driving into like the sunny California weather, and like
I feel like I'm in some kind of gated community, and like, you know, there's like everybody's walking golden retrievers.
Your school, however, is extremely fancy pants.
It's very hippy dippy, and my school is very hippy dippy.
There are no ceilings.
I don't know how that works, but
right? Am I wrong? Was like your main office? It was like open air, like. Or at least
that office, no, but it had a ceiling. But I mean, like, it was made of glass, like you could see out. Like, yeah,
okay, because that didn't make sense to me. But I guess I was just misinformed.
I was like, you were in the recess yard, man.
That was outside the playground, so I guess they would.
The recess, the office, it's all the same.
It's all interconnected in the inner flowing of the magical office play.
It's one of those schools that they don't give grades. They don't have roofs.
Yeah, ghetto Seattle, right? Ghetto Seattle.
At least the 30 minutes north of Seattle is not the greatest where I'm at. Anyway,
I get
what
it.
did I pick? So I don't know if I'm
just throw out something. You know what you got? You got 4 other ones.
Do I?
Yeah. Well, I mean, two on the net. One Netflix show.
It's basically a 2 for 1 for that one.
Just throw one of those out there, and we'll do one of them.
Let's do that. Do I start with that one? I'm going to do
There's two
South
of them.
Park. I'm going to do
There
South
you go.
Park. There we go. South Park. Okay, so a little known fact about me. I don't know how little known people might know. I don't like searching for things. I don't like using the search bars. So when I was rewatching or searching for this episode to rewatch it for jogging the memory, I had to go into South Park and look season by season to try and find this episode.
It's like 6 or something. It's pretty late,
There's
right?
a lot of South Park Christmas episodes. I forgot about that. I thought they were just like one or two.
I was shocked you didn't go with Mr. Hanky the Christmas Poo, which is like an iconic episode.
I don't know,
Sure,
but rewatching this one, I understand why he did it.
Mr.
I need
Hanky
to rewatch
is a
this
little
one.
overplayed. Like that one, it was funny when I was like,
But at the time, that
10.
one episode was like pretty prime.
True.
Sure. And yeah, that's a good pick if you want to watch any random South Park Christmas episode.
That's Ryan. He's like, that's a little traditional, John. You gotta go.
Right?
You gotta go
I
layer.
gotta
Let's go a
see
layer
what
deeper.
People like it, so I can't like it.
Exactly me. That's how I sound. So this episode is called Red Sleigh Down. I think it's in season 6.
Yeah.
I just watched it like a few hours ago. I should remember, but I don't. And basically the plot is Eric Cartman is a scumbag. He's not a good little boy, and he's going over his list of how good I was this year and whether or not I will be getting presents. He determines that he will not, because he was not a good enough kid. So he wants to figure out the way to inflict maximum goodness and therefore secure his dream of getting like a pet robot dog toy that he wants. He wants a toy like all kids do. So he decides to bring Christmas to Iraq, because this episode came out right around when we invaded Iraq in like the early 2000s. So it's an old show. But him and his friends end up taking a poop train. There's like Mr. Hanky gets involved in this, and like they ride a flying magical train made of poop over to the Middle East.
Good.
And Santa, I should explain this a lot better than I am.
No, you're nailing it.
Killing it.
Don't they fly a sled? Don't they fly Santa's sleigh there?
So what happens is they ride the poop train to the North Pole, convince Santa to give
That's what it
presents
is.
to the Iraqi kids, and then that's when Santa flies over, and that's when he gets gunned down. Hence the Red Sleigh Down. Like Black Hawk Down was also right around that time.
It felt like they were taking shots at the Polar Express, and they were taking shots at Black Hawk Down, the Ridley Scott movie.
Yeah,
I did also appreciate that Santa was in the Fortress of Solitude. I did not get that reference at all when I was a little kid, but he was very much in the Superman.
He was,
the original Superman movie kind of Fortress of Solitude vibe.
They even call it that, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, when Santa's flying over Iraq, they shoot his sleigh down because it's a war, and Santa ends up getting kidnapped and tortured by like soldiers who are like shocking him.
Yeah, that's why he looks like this.
So they have to go ask Jesus to help rescue Santa. So Jesus comes in, guns blazing, and there's just like this shootout. It's just fun. It's lots of fun. I get as you will find out with one of my later picks, I get a kick out of apparently I get a kick out of subverting the Santa Claus trope.
Which I think there is fun in, counterbalancing the saccharine holiday with some other element, right? That's fun. Like salted caramel, right? There's something fun to that.
The thought of him with guns is hilarious to me.
It is absolutely hilarious.
And I think the most Ryan part of the entire episode is at the very end of the episode, Cartman gets the present that he wanted, but then he doesn't want it anymore because everyone else has it.
Yes. He is a spoiled brat. It's perfect. But to be fair, it's South Park, and you could pick any one of the Christmas episodes, and they're probably all good. This one just makes me laugh because of all the guns.
I do need to rewatch it. I definitely saw it at least one time, and I knew it, but like I do need to rewatch it for sure.
Yeah,
I want to say that's all on Hulu,
entered.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was on Hulu, which is so weird because what was the other one that was on? We just were talking to 30 Rock is on Netflix and not on Peacock. And all these streaming rights stuff is so weird right now.
It's very complicated.
I watched it on HBO Max. I don't know where else South Park is, but I watched it on HBO.
So a lot of them are on, but when I then found that I found it on HBO Max, and then I think Hulu pulled it up a different time for me. So you can get it any route of those two routes, I guess.
All right, so this next one is the one I didn't tell you guys about, the one I've been keeping a secret. It is a little it's an offbeat choice because it's almost a Halloween episode. It's really that close because everything done on the X-Files has a Halloween binge to it.
Oh goodness.
This is the Ghosts Who Stole Christmas. Ed Asner and Lily Tomlin guest starring on an episode of the X-Files. But it's all centered around a couple who did a murder-suicide pact and now haunting a house. And every Christmas Eve, they try to sucker another couple into committing murder-suicide. And it's Mulder and Scully who are there on Christmas Eve because Mulder knows that this only seems to happen on Christmas Eve. So he wanted to be there to see what is going on in this house. And of course, they get suckered into these two ghosts scheme. And it's about, how they break the cycle. And then, of course, at the end, they give Christmas presents to each other. So there's this little ending moment between Mulder and Scully. And it really plays on the romantic tension ongoing between those two characters, which I love the X-Files. I hate the final couple seasons when they kind of lose the whole Mulder Scully thing. But I really do love those two actors together. And then throw in Ed Asner and Lily Tomlin. I'm all in. It's just a 4-character show. There's nobody else in the episode at all. And they use the haunted house. They use it really well. And watching them, because this is in the will they, won't they phase of the show. And it's kind of fun to see them questioning how they feel about one another as this couple is trying to play them off as having an unrequited romance. So it's a really fun Halloween / Christmassy kind of thing for me. Now, there it is. See, I got Tessa on my side.
See, that's a show that I feel like I missed the boat on it when I was a kid, and and this is going to pain probably every single X-File fan. My first exposure to X-Files was when they did the movie.
The first one or the second one or the third one?
Whatever one came out in theaters. There was one that came out in theaters and they were running over these big solar panel grids. There was black goo coming out of the eyes of something.
That's the original movie.
Okay, yeah.
Which is a solid movie.
That was my first exposure to X-Files. And I dug it.
The other two
it.
suck.
I didn't see that one.
My only experience with X-Files, it came out in 94, I want to say, early 90s. And I was born in 1989, for the record. So my only experience or exposure to X-Files was as a child trying to fall asleep in my room down the hall from my mom, watching this at maximum volume in her bedroom. And all I could hear was that creepy theme song. I was trying to fall asleep.
Extrapolate.
Tossing and turning, I can't get to sleep because this creepy X-Files theme song is coming on, and
it's so good.
That's it. So is it in my head, X-Files is Department of Truth, but Twin Peaks?
No, it's not that. It's not that abstract. So the show really just centers on an FBI agent who is unappreciated in his time, ridiculed and hated, who is obsessed with a conspiracy theory, specifically that they're aliens and that they exist because his sister was abducted and he saw it and as a kid, and he's trying to find out what happened to her. And he feels like there's a government conspiracy kind of hiding what happened to her. He gets partnered with an agent who's trying to debunk everything that he believes. And that's this woman, Scully. And the two of them, each episode kind of get an unusual case, and then he's the believer, she's the skeptic, and they go about trying to solve it. The show, the flaw and or the greatness of the show is that there were two kind of ongoing things. You'd either get the monster of the week kind of episodes, or you'd get the ongoing saga storyline kind of episodes. And some people loved one or the other distinctly, or like myself, could appreciate either one and just could enjoy it for what it was, which is just a fun kind of pop culture nerd show. And that's what I was getting out of it. I watched it way later. I did not watch it live on the air. This was how old I am. This was when I first got my own Netflix account. This was one of the first things I started getting the discs for. And my wife and I would get 2 movies and an X-Files disc. and we would clear that disc of X-Files, send it back, and we went through the entire series disc by disc through Netflix.
So
and
beautiful.
it was it was the young love. You know how it is when you're watching X-Files.
Netflix and chill.
It was literally
mail.
that.
This is, I mean, the days of queuing up your Netflix queue to get the DVD sent to your house, to then making sure, like, okay, I got to coordinate this to send this back so I can get this one coming by the time this one comes.
I had that. My parents had that.
We'd always watch our show and then like try to watch the movies in between while the show was getting, so that way when we get those, we could.
So the overall show had to do mostly with the aliens. The overall arcing thing was as he was getting pieces together about this government conspiracy and what happened to his sister. That's what that first movie was really giving us, was huge pieces of information on that storyline. But the Monster of the Week stuff was kind of fun because it was just like, hey, this week it's the Chupacabra, and we're going to find out like what's going on with that. We're going to do werewolves next week. What's going on with the Sasquatch? You know, every one of those was different.
I feel like I would really like X-Files if I tried it. It feels like it could be my thing, but also
and I think the two lead actors, incredibly talented and charismatic, and played off of each other really well, so that you didn't feel like if you were a skeptic about whatever they were talking about, or you were a believer, you could still like enjoy the back and forth of it, you know?
And David Duchovny was also in Twin Peaks.
He was
one of the earlier trans depictions.
He was also in another show that John has to watch because he's from California, Californication.
I've actually seen, I think, most of the first season that I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
So I like Duchovny. He's very funny. He's a very funny guy. And funny on the show, too. Okay, so let's get back around to Greg. We're going very slowly here. Greg, what do you got? What's one of yours that you want to do?
All right, you know what? Let's everyone knows I'm doing the half-hour comedy shows. I've already lost Tessa with the OC pick, so
you can gain her back.
I'll try and reel her back in with this one. We're going Yippee Kayak from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. The 99. This is a little love for my show, the 99, aka Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's a little homage to John's love of Die Hard.
Yeah.
So,
which is a Christmas movie, as we discussed last week.
In Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Andy Samberg plays Jake Peralta, who is basically a happy version of John's comics with kids, and he is obsessed,
which you wouldn't think exists,
right? He's obsessed with the movie Die Hard, and his like lifelong dream is to have a Die Hard experience. And so what happens is he has to go to a store as they're about to close to get a Christmas gift for his friend Boyle, who is obsessed with Jake, but Jake's kind of like, I'm the cool guy who's like, I don't want, but he doesn't want to hurt his feelings. And so they go and they have Gina, who is also a great person in the show. And they realize that the place is being robbed. And so what Jake Peralta then is like, this is my Die Hard moment. And so like they're all hiding. He's like, I'm gonna go do reconnaissance. He's like, all right, I'm gonna call you Klaus. And he's writing like the names on his wrist. And then like he hears the guy on the walkie-talkie. He's like, Mark. He's like, and then like he gets really mad that none of them are like Russian and that like Germans, one's Canadian. And he's like, come on. But the really cool part, like where you always like the holiday episode always has that like sentimental moment. Like Jake Peralta doesn't get his Die Hard moment. He sacrifices his Die Hard moment so that Boyle can do it. And Boyle butchers it. He butchers the famous Bruce Willis line and says, "Yippee kayak." And he says it multiple times throughout the episode.
Yep.
And Jake's character kind of comes to this realization of like, hey, it's okay because I got family, and like that kind of the moral compass aspect of it, of what the holidays are really about. So I love it because it's a Christmas episode, but then it ties into a controversial for some people of it's not a Christmas movie. It is a Christmas movie. We've obviously declared it a Christmas movie on this show.
If Ryan watched last week's episode, he would have gotten the facts about why it is. But
I'm not debating that it is a Christmas movie. I will acknowledge that.
Okay.
So,
but you just don't like the movie. It's too popular.
And I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it fit well for this. So they have a couple other Christmas episodes, but I had to pick this one because it's Die Hard.
It is a great episode, and because of all the references they had leading up to that point too, it was like a constant stream from him of that.
Yeah, well, and then I believe because I feel like that's season 2 or season 3. I feel like they actually do like almost a Die Hard episode with him then later on.
There's one with like a Reginald Vell Johnson like meet and greet, and he misses out on it. Like there's so many little like Die Hard things.
And John, you just like that, you're losing 10 points.
I mean, I could see you sell me that concept. But you're just wrong, Tessa. Sorry, you're just wrong.
I mean, is she wrong? It takes place on Christmas, and there is a Christmas party. But like, that's it.
John.
If you see, he clearly didn't watch the episode.
He did not watch our show.
I broke it down, man. I broke it down. How about this, Ryan? What makes a Christmas movie to you? What makes a movie a Christmas movie?
Santa and like happy feelings and elves and snow and children and presents, and
there's so many Christmas movies that don't have Santa in them.
Sure, but like, what is Die Hard? Die Hard just happens on Christmas.
It doesn't. It's all about family and giving work a back seat to your family, because the main two characters have made that wrong choice, and at the end of the movie, he still hasn't listened. You watch the episode and then tell me. Watch the episode.
Yeah, whatever.
You missed it.
I'll just tell you.
I know you won't. I know you won't.
Telling him to watch an episode is the same as me. I'm like, I'm not going to watch it on the rewind. If I tell you I'm going to watch it on the rewind, I'm lying. I'm not.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I'll catch it on the rewind.
Gotta go, guys. Catch it on the rewind. I'm not doing that. So I don't even say catch it on the rewind. I'm just like, I gotta go, guys.
Yeah. You won't even say that. You won't even have the like white lie. Come on, Greg.
No.
All right, Ryan. What are you doing next, man? Are we diving into the double feature?
I feel like I have to. I don't want to tear into Brooklyn Nine-Nine and this whole inclusion.
Oh, let's go. No, tear into
it. That's not the right word.
No, you promised. You said I'm going, and I think verbatim, you said I'm gonna rip into your half-hour comedies.
Sure, and you haven't gotten to the other comedies that you picked. I can't comment on Frasier because I've never seen a minute of that show, and it's spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Okay, now people know what one of my picks on. Thanks.
Just pull the plug. We'll end the whole show. I don't even care.
He's looking at he's ranting.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a good comedy, but the thing that bugs me is like the constant jokes, and I know that's like the point of a sitcom, but like the writing just has like I respond to sitcoms that have, I don't know, my favorites are Always Sunny and Curb Your Enthusiasm, and those are.
So let me tell you what I think that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is missing for you. You really like comedy that is painfully awkward.
Yeah, but I don't like
uncomfortably awkward is
Always Sunny, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah,
I'm not going to name your other picks.
It's the center of the bullseye for you.
Sure, but the family friendly element of shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine is what turns me off. It's a little safe, and I'm pretty sure that I'm frozen right now.
No, I'm frozen. We could still hear you the whole time. We can
still hear you.
I feel frozen.
Hear you.
You feel. I mean, you aren't, but it
feels safe. It feels a little family friendly.
Okay. All right.
Well, yeah, it's on NBC. You're gonna have a fan.
That's my issue.
I mean, at least it's not. I think you do have your levels of comedy. You have your CBS here, then you have your NBCs here
at the bottom. Yeah.
At the CBS
agree on that, and I do really like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like it's well made, and I love the characters, and I also love 30 Rock. And I think the difference between those two shows is the writing and the caliber of like somebody like Tina Fey, who is just like.
I agree. The writing on 30 Rock is better than on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It's what you're trying to get out of the show. You're saying you're taking Tina Fey from SNL's writing, and you're almost taking it with like Andy Samberg's writing. Their comedy styles are different, and that means the writing of the shows and the vibe of the shows are going to be differently written.
Right.
Andy is 100% more. His style is the joke. I get that. Where Tina Fey is the more smart, like you might miss the
Hers
joke.
is more satire. It's
Yes.
more thematic.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing about comedy. Anyways, it's my wife will watch a Brooklyn Nine-Nine 10 times more than she would ever watch a Curb Your Enthusiasm. I was watching the Curb Your Enthusiasm Christmas episode, and she came down. She goes, "Oh gosh, not this show!" Like she's like, my palms get sweaty when like I see this because like she gets so nervously awkward about it because of how awkward the show is.
And that's what kept me from finishing Curb Your Enthusiasm was it was becoming painful to watch. Like I was like,
I love it, and I do love that aspect.
It's like hurting me to watch this guy. At least with Seinfeld, it was still designed a little. It was more for just like overall laughs, not just for like, wow, this is painful. This is hurts.
This guy's an idiot, and I love watching idiots be like inept in social situations, which I can identify with. But for me, my favorite element in this episode specifically of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the part that got the biggest laugh out of me, was that when he discovered that all of these robbers were actually Canadian and not Germans or Russians or North Koreans. My favorite element was when he grabbed the radio and just pretended to be Canadian, like, "Oh, oot na boot, eh?" or something. And the guys on the radio were like, "All right, copy that." Like they couldn't tell that he was not, it's a comedy is subjective. And that's the part that sucks is like some things are going to work for some people and not for others.
Right.
But the entire second plot of the episode when they were doing like the polar bear dive or whatever with I don't remember her name, Amy, I think, the girlfriend.
Yeah, Amy Santiago.
Yeah. And like, that element of the show just doesn't do it for me. And some of the, I don't know.
Well, and that's okay. And that's what, I mean, you have stuff like, Andy Samberg's movie Hot Rod was a box office bomb, but it has a cult following because people love the awkward humor and it hits at certain notes. And that's why you're never going to have, I think, a comedy show that everyone loves because we all vibe it differently. Where you can have
comedy is so subjective.
That's a perfect segue, I guess, to my double hitter pick, I guess.
All right.
Let's start with that.
Do you want Scrooge or do you want Santa? What do you want?
Let's do Santa.
All right.
Let's go with that one first.
Here.
This is a still image from a Netflix show that actually Comics Will Break Your Heart that Jennifer introduced me to called I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. It's a sketch comedy show. And this is a cheat pick because it's not an episode. This is a skit, or technically two skits from one episode about this character on the right, Detective Crashmore. The skit is this trailer for a very gritty, like John Wick style revenge action movie with lots of guns and swearing and violence and blood.
Called Detective Crashmore.
That's the name of the film. And then it's at the very end of the trailer, it's listing off all the actors. And the last part is like, and starring Santa Claus as Detective Crashmore. And you find out that this main character who's shooting everybody and swearing and cursing and getting blood all over him is Santa. And like the genius of that for me is the underlying implication that throughout the rest of the year, when Santa's not delivering presents, he is in Hollywood acting,
making atrocious action films, like obscenely violent action movies,
dropping F-bombs and shooting gang members.
God. Yeah.
But the true genius of that skit and that premise is like, after that trailer sketch is over, there is another random short sketch that's completely unrelated. And then the following sketch in the episode is what that picture John just showed was like an Access Hollywood kind of behind the scenes interview with the three lead actors from Detective Crashmore. And it's Santa Claus giving like a behind the scenes interview explaining like how his contract works and how he's going to make a whole bunch of he's going to make millions off this movie and describing like how it's a little bit Tarantino and it's kind of like jazz and just, it's a really weird and uncomfortable, and he gets angry at the interviewer for even mentioning that he is Santa and that he delivers presents.
So good.
It's very off
in
the
fact,
wall.
As much as I could like laugh at so I watched this video before we went live. It's on Netflix. I Think You Should Leave is the series, and I think it was the second season, the 6th episode, something like that.
It was second season, third or fourth episode, I think.
And as much as I enjoyed the fake trailer, which is one of the pieces in that episode. After a while, it got a little old for me, but then when they got to the Access Hollywood sort of styled interview, it was a whole other layer that I was laughing a ton during that. Way more. The trailer, I was just like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Right. But then they get to the interview, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they just.
Well, and I will say that is the genius of the show. It does that a lot, very like where it'll do one of the sketches, and it'll slowly bring it in to another aspect, or they'll hit on it just again, and like it hits so well.
Because I had never heard of it before this. I know that Ryan always posts the GIFs, but I never know where a GIF comes from if I haven't, seen the show or anything. So I was like,
you'll hit the like button on the GIF.
But of course, I like it if a GIF fits. I'm always
Jennifer got Ryan on it, and then Ryan and Jennifer got me on it, and I then literally
loves this show.
That was funny because I was watching it. She came down. She's like, "What the heck am I watching?" And then but she didn't leave, and so I'm silently on my phone messaging Ryan and Jennifer a play-by-play. I'm like, she doesn't like this. Oh, she laughed. Oh, she's still sticking around. She's like, I got to go to bed. Oh, 40 minutes later, she's still watching more episodes with me. Giving them literally a play-by-play of the thing. And then I screenshotted everything to her, and I was sending them like, this was our conversation when she went to bed finally. She's like, I love that. That's awesome.
It's just a really well done show. It's only 2 seasons, and each episode is like 15 minutes or something. It's really quick. It goes quick. You can watch the whole thing in like an afternoon. But he used to be a writer on SNL, which I did not know. And that explains why he has incorporated several of the cast members from Saturday Night Live into some of the sketches.
That makes
Bob
sense.
Odenkirk made an appearance on one, which I really liked. And Glenn from Walking Dead was in the first episode. It's just a fun show.
Strong's in that. Yeah, that's an SNL connection.
Yeah.
Andy Samberg's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
She's awesome. Andy Samberg is in one of them. I always forget about that one. But yeah, it's just a good little quick sketch comedy show that happens to include 2 Santa sketches that
in one episode.
Include just because I love. Yeah, and there is one other sketch that's also Christmas related that I don't like as much, but it's kind of relevant, I guess, because it's Christmas. It's a Christmas Carol. It's a Christmas Carol. It's basically
that's like one of your later picks. You can't go. You're not going to double dip on this one. That's
cool.
One of your other picks. You told me you had 2 of them. So
I'm tired of talking.
There you go.
I'm tired of talking. Next.
All right, John, your pick.
It would not be. I mean, Arrested Development is just an amazing series, and I absolutely love this show. So, especially the stuff before they went to Netflix, like the Netflix stuff. But like the original stuff, so funny, including this episode, Afternoon Delight, which you see. In that image there is the moment when a guy and his niece sing Afternoon Delight, and they come to realize that the lyrics are not as appropriate as the melody makes it seem. It's just a great episode all around, with every member of the Bluth family kind of playing their part. That show always made me laugh. Like, it was always funny. But there's so many great moments in that. Specifically, I love the fact that the dumb younger brother is going to war, right? And he never goes. He ends up staying at the arcade, playing the claw machine at the arcade over and over again. And then the end of the episode, you have Job, the middle brother, who's kind of a wreck as well. Or is Job the older brother? He might be the oldest.
Job's the oldest.
And Job gets stuck in the banana stand in a banana suit, and the only way to get him out is a giant crane. And so the younger brother's over there lowering an actual crane, the only thing he's learned over the last few weeks, down and getting his brother out with a giant crane, just like the arcade game he's been playing. Hilarious. And then, of course, realizes he doesn't know how to get things out of the crane because the game doesn't really teach you that. So he ends up dropping him in the ocean somewhere. I mean, the episode plays on a lot of those kind of things over and over again. Like you think it's just one layer, but then it gets deeper. And then, of course, the Afternoon Delight comes back again. There's another moment where 2 other family members are singing the song and coming to the realization that it's really not an appropriate song for family members to be singing together. I just love Arrested Development.
It's so good.
Every actor in that show has got some piece to add to the chemistry that makes it so perfect.
Well, and it's one of those, a good ensemble comedy. If you take away this person,
Yeah,
you would miss that person because of what they bring to the show.
totally.
I'll probably get some flack here. But I'm I don't like Friends because of how some of the characters are but I'm if you take away Ross, I'll probably enjoy the show more. And people will be no, then you can't have Ross and Rachel. And I'm okay with that because I did but I mean, that's where I'm a really good ensemble is you take away a piece you would miss, what is it? Tobias is with his trying to get into the Blue Man group,
which comes up in this, right? The
things,
blue,
he gets run over in the car. And so he then can't hear. And then he misses his audition for the Blue Man group, but he can't hear because he gets attacked by the mother and the
with
mother
the rape porn.
Yeah, and they all have these and they both say stuff of that are do you hear what you're saying? Yeah. And and Job's just running around oh really? Because the guy in the $2,000, $5,000 suit's gonna do
talking about the price of his suit the whole time. Yeah. So good.
But yeah, they all just play off so well. And I think that's what made it work really well, which is then why the Netflix, when they did it in the segments where it was one character by themselves, it flopped because they didn't have you were missing
they
the
couldn't
character.
Get them all together.
I mean, that's why they literally Netflix realized what they did. They recut it and they don't have that anymore. It's now all recut and it just doesn't fit as well because it wasn't written that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think they did do another season after that,
which I never watched because
I never watched.
They had burnt the bridge by that point. And I wasn't ready to go back to it. I'll watch the early seasons on Fox.
It was a little better. The second Netflix season, they realized they screwed some stuff up, and it was a little bit of an improvement, but it still wasn't the same.
Yeah, I'll probably go through and watch it all again now because I will watch it. At least the recut is better than the first version they put out. And then I do want to see the second season eventually. So.
When I think of my favorite sitcoms, Arrested Development, for some reason, never pops into my mind, which is a crime. But if somebody were to hold a gun to my head and say, what is the greatest, best half-hour comedy show ever? I don't know if I could pick a better show than that. That's one of the greatest comedies in the entire world. The writing is so snappy and so solid, and it works on so many different levels. And like you guys were saying, every single actor, every single character is performed to an 11 out of 10. And you take one of them out and now that Jessica Walter has unfortunately passed on, I don't think they should do the show anymore because you miss any one of them. Whichever cast member died first, that there's no going on without any one of them. And
And I even love all the random small characters, the doctor that they always seem to get when they go to the hospital. The guy's I'm sorry, we've lost him. And they're no. And he's no, we can't find him. We don't know where he went. And then they're
he's going to be all right.
Doctor, right? Every time it was the same doctor.
And what Bob La Blah?
Yeah, Bob La Blah.
Yeah.
Right. And his Bob La Blah's Loblog.
Genius.
Or Henry Winkler has the comedy lawyers, right?
Henry Winkler, Charlize Theron's
so great.
So many. Yeah, man.
It's just great. It's a great show. So yeah, that's
if
that
you
episode.
Have never
if you
given
haven't seen
that
it,
show a chance.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Watch Arrested Development.
So worth the time. And I want to say that was a Hulu find for me. If I'm not mistaken. I'm not certain.
And I will just say this. This is cutting into, but man, Gore just hit a comedy note for me. The Smothers Brothers. I have probably every single LP upstairs of the Smothers Brothers. I would sit down in my dad's study and listen to the Smothers Brothers. And man, do you want to talk about comedy geniuses? They were comedy geniuses. And
I don't know what that even is.
So I'm going to send you some. They were two brothers who did basically comedy songwriting. And so think Flight of the Conchords, kind of their style, how they were two dudes that were talking, but it was interactive talking while they would be singing songs on a stage. They also did a sketch show later on, which I think Gore is talking about, but I'll send you some of my favorite stuff of them. And it just is, I think it's the 60s or 70s that they did it. But
70s, if I'm not mistaken.
70s, yeah. Okay. And it was, they hit the right notes when it talks, for me, comedy-wise. I love a good, like, banter of brothers, Dickie and Tommy Smothers, and just how they interact with each other.
Yeah. I will say I liked it a lot, but like, and I like the comparison to Flight of the Conchords, but Flight of the Conchords is far superior. It just, for me, like it just, the comedy notes are so much stronger.
I get what you're saying with there, but man, it was.
But I get the format was very similar.
The format, yes.
And I love Flight of the Conchords, so like that's any way to get me in.
It's phenomenal, yeah. The song, I mean,
this might be the first so group of 3 people I've ever been in who all are familiar with that show.
See, that's why you're here.
3 people in a room. No one knows what the hell that show is. Like every time I bring it up, everyone's like, "What is that?"
You gotta. It's time to leave that room. That's what I'm saying.
Yep, exactly.
Pick a better room.
All right, because this one got spoiled. I'm gonna jump Greg right into Frasier.
Yeah, so we're talking Miracle on 3rd or 4th Street.
It could be either one.
This is one of those. So, as I'm sure most of you guys know, Frasier was a character on Cheers. This Frasier then became a spinoff of Cheers. I watched a Cheers Christmas episode too. And what I liked about this is this hits all the notes for me of like emotional aspect of a Christmas episode. And I watched a lot of these 90s sitcoms. I watched Golden Girls, which hit that note. I watched Home Improvement that someone else, talked about, Cheers and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's episodes. And this one's kind of stuck out the most because Frasier is going to go to going to spend the holiday with his son.
His son's flying out to Seattle.
Yeah. To be with him, and him and his dad and brother are going to go to their cabin, spend the holiday. And basically he gets a phone call that his wife, he's divorced and his wife wants to keep his son, and that they have this experience to go, this Gone with the Wind experience. And, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and gets to meet
Sound
all
of Music. But yeah, I'm with you.
Oh yeah. Sound of Music. Okay. Same time, but
they're going to Europe and
Europe and all of that. And he's like, you got to go. And then like, you can start to see like, he's being kind of nitpicked at throughout the time. Like, he was at the holiday party and he had to take the classic drunk home because that's what the first year at the radio station host always has to do at the Christmas party. And then he gets to do a kind of a tizzy with his dad.
It's basically like you're watching Frasier's holiday plans just fall apart.
And they crumble. And so he's like, screw it all. I'm not even going to celebrate Christmas. I'm going to go to the studio. I'll cover for someone so he can go with his family. I don't want to be around and celebrate the holiday anymore. So there's this like really depressing time where he's in the studio and he's talking, but then he goes to the diner. And it's funny because some of the people that called in were talking about a homeless person wearing his shoes, and that was he runs into this homeless person at the diner. So like it sets the stage that that the homeless person is kind of already there. And Frasier, because he's already so bummed out and everything, he's in like tattered clothes. He looks homeless himself, but he's driving like an Audi or a BMW,
a Mercedes, like it's like a really nice
Mercedes Benz, like whatever. But he gets to this diner because it's the only thing open at that hour. And he forgets his wallet, and the interaction of people like that, they actually think he's homeless because like, okay, like, oh, I forgot my wallet. But
they take a collection to pay for his
and so
dinner.
Like the homeless guy is like,
he's like, but I'm like richer than
hey,
everybody in here. Yeah.
And it embodies this spirit of humanity for me, which is what a holiday episode does, of like, when it doesn't matter. And we talked about this, I think, on the last episode with the movies, with Trading Places. Like, it doesn't matter your wealth status, who you are, as we're humans. And if we can just come together as a society and just look at people as people, like, oh, I see someone in need, even though I don't have enough to give, I'm going to still give what I can give to help this person out.
Right.
And like, it embodies that. That's like that. There's something about when you're like, what's a holiday movie? That's like, there has to be that essence there of like, something greater than ourselves.
Totally.
And that does that in a really good episode, because I watched a lot of Frasier as a kid, but I don't remember. It's not like I've gone back and binge watched Frasier.
I need to.
What
I've never seen a moment of Frasier.
Well, I think what you're getting at is what makes a Christmas movie or an episode of the show is its thematic elements, right? The thematic elements are what make it work. And this one is dead. I rewatched it this week as well, and it's just packed with all those elements for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. What kind of diner let no one but two dirty homeless people into the restaurant? I mean,
there was more people.
There was other people, but most of them were looking like they were.
But I did like
on
this
their
better
last
than the
dimes.
Cheers episode.
Yes, I watched that one again too. I didn't
I
watch the MASH one. I know that I had a friend tell me I should have watched the MASH episode.
Did you watch the Golden Girls one where they at the homeless shelter?
No, I didn't.
That was a good
See,
one.
we're getting into the area of sitcom where Ryan
doesn't like
this
those.
is why I
like-
was pissed off when you even asked me
it was
to jump on this
painfully
show.
it was almost like a painful requirement that TV shows of a certain era had to do a Christmas episode every single year.
I mean, it makes sense when you're on network schedules and like
Right.
a show comes out on Thursday night, December 20, whatever. Like
Right.
it makes sense. Like do a Christmas one, but all of those shows, I not only have never seen a moment of, but I have no desire to, which is not fair. And apparently
Well,
now
the
that Tessa
format
loves
was-
all these shows, I'm going to have to sit
The
through.
format
I'm
was
gonna have to
very
watch
limiting.
MASH.
It's I think the laugh track sitcom format is incredibly limiting, and as a result, I think it left a lot to be desired, certainly for modern audiences, which I think is shows like Arrested Development or Curb Your Enthusiasm are a reaction to that frustration, that dynamic.
I can't stand laugh track comedies. Like
But
Seinfeld
I
is as
also-
close as I will get.
I also think everything's cyclical too, right? Like you had all the comedies in the 90s that were the laugh tracks, and now you have, because of The Office and stuff, you have all the talk
What
to
we
the
call
camera.
what we call a one camera
Yeah,
comedy shows.
to
We've
the
moved
camera.
from that 3-camera one giant set,
And then you're
one
now
camera.
starting to get into the almost like it's almost like the Tim Burton to the Joel Schumacher pendulum swing, just the other way of like we're going so far from like the laugh track comedy to the Curb Your Enthusiasm to like the always Sunny in Philadelphia comedy to the the absurd, like we're going to poke fun at that type of comedy and take it to the level that Seinfeld couldn't take it to on network TV. And
So you're saying
Do you
soon
think
the
do you
pendulum's
think
going to
a
swing
network-
back?
But exactly. Do you think a network comedy could work today with a laugh track and be on at least an entertainment level, not on necessarily a quality level, on an entertainment level, on par with a Arrested Development, Curb Your whatever?
probably, I don't know. I don't think so. Probably not, just because of how we're wired now. But
Because it would
In
seem like
theory,
it would be going backwards.
well, yeah. I mean, Patrick just says if you take the laugh track out of Big Bang, you can see how it's trash.
I never
you.
watched that show. I never
I-
watched
yeah.
I only watch it when I'm at my
Sorry.
parents' house because they think it's funny, and then they like to make points like, "Oh, they go to a comic book shop too." I'm like, oh, stop.
That's why I don't like it. It makes nerds like it's a bad representation. Just like Dwight Schrute makes Battlestar Galactica look like the worst show ever. Like Big Bang Theory makes comic book nerds look like the scum of the earth, and that's just not cool. Can't do that.
Oh man.
Some of us are scum of the earth, but not most of us.
All right, so Ryan, we coming to you, man. You got 2 left. What do you want to do
Two
here?
left.
Yeah, you're Scrooge, and you got the other that your lady was mentioning.
Let's do that one. I'll do that one because that one is probably my favorite out of the 5 I picked. This is the Always Sunny Christmas special. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is my favorite comedy show. It just speaks to me. It's about the worst group of people being absolutely terrible to everybody they meet and to each other, which is part of the fun. And this episode is about this core group of characters kind of trying to rekindle the Christmas spirit in themselves because they're all just absolute trash people and they don't feel festive in any way. And so this is a double length kind of full hour kind of special as opposed to the half hour format. So they take the core group of characters and split them off into two different storylines, which happens all the time anyway. But you have Mac and Charlie, who go off and try and rekindle their youthful Christmas traditions that they had when they were kids, and they explain to each other what their childhood Christmas was like. And Charlie tells Mac that his mom used to have a bunch of people come over on Christmas morning to try and cheer her up. A bunch of Santa Clauses would come to her house and bring him presents, and then go upstairs and cheer his mom up. And then the next Santa would come along and bring another present and cheer his mom up. And that was his Christmas morning.
Yep.
And it wasn't until he explained this to his friend, where his friend's like, your mom might have been a prostitute, and like there could have been some shady business dealings happening upstairs in your house. So that's dark, but I like the darkness. I like the humor there. And then Mac explains to Charlie his family's tradition of going, how everybody in the neighborhood went house to house and took their neighbors' presents. And that's why there were never any presents when I came back to my house, because the neighbors had already came and took all my presents. And Charlie just lays it out to Mac and was like, dude, I think you were just robbing your neighbors. And, your dad's a criminal. So that explains that. You're just going to your neighbor's house, stealing their presents, and coming home.
Yeah.
They're just bad people. And it's a fun show about terrible, terrible people. But this episode kind of spins it with a Christmas twist.
Yeah.
I don't care so much for the other plot line that happens.
It's funny because I maybe it's just the way I've watched Sunny, but I never felt like the characters on Sunny were horrible people. Like I thought they were certainly moronic, and they made like bad choices a lot. But I generally liked them, and I enjoyed spending time with them. I was never like mad. I was never like upset and mad at them. Like I never was like, I hate these people. It was always like, they're like lovable idiots. Like I love them.
I'm
as
judging you
idiots.
so hardcore right now, because
I am also judging you.
Not Mac. Dennis is scum. Like Dennis is a horrible human being. Of all of them, like you might be like Charlie is a lovable.
Yes.
Fine.
Charlie is absolutely a lovable
Charlie,
idiot,
yes.
Period.
I would even say Mac to a degree.
Yeah, totally.
He borderlines it a little bit.
And what's her name? The girl.
Sweet Tea.
Yeah.
But Dennis is a piece of garbage.
He's a murderer. They haven't admitted it. But
and
he's
Tessa, we're gonna fight. If you're trying to say that the characters on like Dennis is more of a likable character than someone from the OC, come on.
Well, I don't know about that element, but I'm just saying, like, I these are characters I don't mind as much, and I actually enjoy the time being spent with them in that way. Like, I could just like appreciate them as lovable idiots.
I want to say it almost is probably because you have a couple of the characters who are not as bad, and I think for some where you're like, I don't, I think that's what worked for Seinfeld, at least a little bit of like, I think Elaine and George, like people are like, I don't like them really at all. But at least like Kramer wasn't like a complete, like he was your Charlie of the group.
He wasn't malicious.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like you don't have that as much in Curb Your Enthusiasm, where there's, so I get that.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
So, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I got to disagree with John too. But like, that's why you won't watch Breaking Bad, because they're all bad people, even though it's like one of the greatest shows of our generation. But like,
I've went through 3 seasons. Like, I didn't not watch it. I gave it a way better shot than Sopranos. Legitimately, okay. But I also will say, like, I carry a lot of other baggage with Breaking Bad as far as like being a teacher and a dad. Like, I don't want to watch a teacher and a dad slowly deteriorate into nothing. Like, that's just not an enjoyable experience.
He's a dad. Tony Soprano is also a dad.
That definitely was one of the more disappointing portions of that. But yeah.
So this is why Always Sunny. None of them are teachers, and none of them are dads.
None of them are parents, as far as we know. I mean, they might have kids.
Danny DeVito's character,
which I like Frank too. Frank's a lovable idiot. Isn't that his name? Frank?
Yeah. Okay. But he's also like an embezzler and
I mean, I'm not saying he's like a really like good guy. I'm saying that they're lovable idiots.
I just love your definition of a bad. Like this episode we're talking about, Frank literally tricks his kids into thinking they're getting Christmas presents and not giving them anything. And you're like, that's okay. But
That's hilarious.
But Breaking Bad, like the dad's trying to like at least make money for his family to survive.
The difference is like Breaking Bad is slowly watching him get worse. That's all the show is. Like, here's where we're starting, and we're gonna end here. And there's nothing but decline in the middle. That's all you're gonna get.
You are gonna die alone on the Breaking Bad is not good hill.
I'm not saying it's not good. I watched 3 seasons of it. I'm saying it's too depressing for me, is what I'm saying.
But The Wire's okay.
I'm happy to die on this hill.
The Wire makes me cry. Like, that show is bad. Like watching Dookie get out of that car and go down the alley, and like,
the difference for me is like at least The Wire gives you the hope that you could make a difference. Breaking Bad tells you your life's gonna suck. Everything's gonna suck. Everything's gonna end badly. This is all gonna end, and this is how shitty America is. That's it. Whereas The Wire actually has people struggling against the system and trying to make a difference and trying to do good. They are internally, a lot of them, driven by a desire to make things better. But the Breaking Bad guys are like, fuck it, everything sucks. Let's just make some money and do some drugs. That's the difference.
Maybe you need to go rewatch the beginning of that show with the whole forced into it by the,
But look at all the characters who are like trying to do good in The Wire, but they're just doing it. Some of them are doing it horrible ways, but they're trying.
Stringer Bell is totally, a magnanimous, generous, charitable citizen who
actually,
I'm
happy to have that discussion as well. I think Stringer was trying to bring some sensible business practices to a violent industry and trying to avoid some of the the slaying that was kind of like running rampant in that business. If you want to, you could argue that, and you could argue that his partner was the bigger problem. Avon was the guy who maybe had no redeemable qualities. I don't know.
It's funny. So some show just ended because Tyler just showed up, Lee just showed up, Mikey just showed up, Ignacio just showed up, and we're all like, "Hey, start over." So
here's the Breaking Bad
Wire discussion or something. So.
We're counting down some of our favorite Christmas-themed, holiday-themed episodes of television, and got a little derailed with a discussion of redeemable characters in It's Always Sunny versus maybe Breaking Bad or The Wire.
And we're
better than Transport. What did somebody just say? Yellowstone.
Oh no,
I haven't watched because I don't pay for that streaming service.
But we still have your last year.
I got 2 left.
You have yours because you're the last one for round 4.
Yeah, I got 2 left. I'm going to do the one that was the obvious pick for me, and I think Bearded knew I was going to pick it, but Ryan overlooked it, and I told him
completely
it was going to hurt.
overlooked this one.
Yeah, I think this is one of the greatest Christmas episodes, period. I think it's an amazing look at like the mistakes you made in the past in relationships and how Christmas might be the chance to fix some of those mistakes. Yeah, I'm talking about Lost. Yeah, I'm talking about my favorite episode of Lost, which is The Constant, where Desmond on Christmas Eve has to make a critical phone call, hoping that he can save his own life, but also all the things in his life that made it worthwhile by calling the woman that he left behind when he came to the island. This is a phenomenal Christmas episode with Christmas playing a back seat to characters trying to redeem really horrible choices that they've made. I freaking love this as a Christmas episode.
I love this episode, but the fact that you're like, Christmas takes a back seat. Christmas is on a bus in this episode. Takes a far back
Not
seat.
Thank you. Not true. I disagree.
There is a Christmas tree in the episode, and unless they didn't say it's you got to call me on December 24th.
They do say that.
I know, but I'm saying if it wasn't for that line where they say you must call me on December 24th, there's no other iteration where it's a Christmas.
It is absolutely a Christmas episode.
It's not like they hung up stockings in the hatch or something. Like it's not like you would
Santa's legit hate if they did that. Why are you complaining about that choice?
Santa's not going to find the island and. Little Aaron isn't going to get his Christmas presents.
Ryan wants to qualify everything a Christmas movie or episode if it has Santa. That is not a qualification. That is
this
not
is like Die Hard. This is exactly the same Die Hard argument.
I would say Die Hard has a lot better angle than this one.
And I agree.
Wow.
That is very true. That Die Hard is a more of a Christmas thing than The Constant. And I love Lost. And The Constant belongs.
I love
at
the
top
show
of
too.
the
I love
rankings.
the episode, and there was no way I was going to put it on though to defend it. One of
It
the
is
lists I saw,
absolutely a Christmas
as soon
episode.
as I
Because
saw it on the list, I was
here's
like,
the
John's gonna
problem
put it on.
Ryan's got. Ryan wants literal Christmas.
Yes.
And that's not how this works. It's thematic Christmas. And this
As long
just
as
like
there's-
Die Hard has all the thematic elements you want from a Christmas story, period.
So all you need are love and family.
Not necessarily. And look, there's my
happiness.
Ignacio. Boom.
And-
no, it's not just simply love, family, happiness, because that's not actually what it's all about.
Christmas is about stuff and toys.
It's about
and
buying shit.
things.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. It's about
all
getting
about
free
buying
shit
shit.
from Santa.
It's about
And if
having
doesn't-
your best friend, the Iraqi, fix your phone so you can call your wife.
Or he could have been an Afghani
because
or
if you
anything.
don't,
You know.
you're
No,
gonna
he's
get a
Iraqi.
brain aneurysm because you've time traveled too much. I do
Yeah.
love though too, like
Right.
the three biggest Lost fans are on this panel, and like this is like, and two of us are like, no, John, you're stretching it.
I'm not. This is factual holiday stuff here.
So
And for
what
me,
if
it's
she
all
said?
about-
What if she said, "Call me on Labor Day"?
it would be an
and
odd
I'll be
choice for
there-
the show.
But nothing else would change. It wouldn't. The episode
It would
work
actually
just the
change a
same.
lot because the themes don't connect to Labor Day. Themes don't connect to that holiday. Whereas all the themes about trying to reconnect to people, missed opportunities, all those like Scrooge, Ghosts of Christmas Past. I mean, this is the perfect way to look at Ghosts of Christmas Past. That's basically what Desmond is going through here. He gets to look back through all his failed moments with Penny and then has the moment in the present to call her and actually fix it
Okay, you got me.
right there.
I agree.
I mean,
It's a wonderful
next. I just can't wait till we do our Easter episode, and John's like, "Hey, listen, zombies, okay?
There's a
the Dead-
Walking Dead
the
episode
The theme is
where
he's
somebody
listed-
wears a bunny suit.
It's bunny suits are rising from the dead, and it's an Easter themed episode for John. So
If there's no bunnies,
Um,
it's not Easter.
I hope
there's no
Patrick Walt's
eggs-
talking about Rugrats and
So
the
good.
Christmas episodes. No one tell Downright Nerdy that I literally just bashed Friends
We may have bashed Friends a lot
like 20
tonight.
minutes ago.
Love
Uh,
Bashing.
and The
will say this.
Office
I
was
will say this: I
overlooked.
rewatched the episode of the Armadillo Holiday or whatever.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
Friends-
Well, I can talk
the
about it when someone's
Holiday
like-
Armadillo episode.
Like,
Yeah, I rewatched
so when
it.
someone's like, "What about the Armadillo episode?" and I'm like,
I watched it again and it was all right.
"It was fine. It was fine."
I like their Thanksgiving episodes way
the
better than
they
their
did the
Christmas
Thanksgiving
episodes.
better. Yeah.
There were so many great Friends Thanksgiving episodes that are hilarious and phenomenal. For me, they are a better Thanksgiving show. But anyways, so yeah, the the Constant is top of my list, but I'm saving one other one for last.
Oh, the Hey Arnold.
Convinced me. You
Yep.
convinced me in real time,
I've never done that in anything in my life, so this is a first.
and I hate saying it. It makes my stomach churn. But you convinced me. You're right. Constant is I will still fight you on Die Hard until you can give me a better explanation.
This is
Wow.
such a good episode.
But the Constant is definitely Christmas. Like I
Oh,
agree.
so
Although
good.
if she had a jack-o'-lantern behind her instead of a Christmas tree, or a shamrock, it could have worked on any other holiday, maybe. But like, sure, it's Christmas.
So good. All right, Greg, let's hit your last one here, man.
I was gonna say originally one of my last picks was gonna be Christmas with the Joker from Batman the Animated Series.
but I didn't even think about that.
And I'm really disappointed in you, John. Spoiler alert,
Yeah.
you did not pick Have Yourself a Very Morlock Little Christmas from the
Yeah.
X-Men the Animated Series.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
dis-
yeah.
I'm disappointed in you, but I almost put that, and as I was rewatching it, because Bruce and Dick are watching Wonderful Life, and Bruce is just like, "This isn't nothing's a Wonderful Life." He's so just. But then they go on like 20 minutes where they just fight with Christmas theme in the background and come back. It was a good Christmas. It would have been if we
Right.
had 6, but my last one was Community. and this is what was the title of this? Comparative religion.
Comparatively, yeah, because they had a lot of good Christmas
I was
episodes
debating
too.
between this one and someone mentioned it in the chat.
Abed's
Uncontrollable Christmas at the very beginning, which is where Abed gets into a claymation whole episode, which is fantastic. And that's one of the primes about Community is their pop cultural references that they bring into. But this one, I think I picked it over the Abed's Christmas because it hit the thematical elements that we always talk about on the show, John, of Christmas a little bit more for me than the claymation. Yeah, Ryan's gone. It's classic.
Yeah, second time.
So this episode happens right in the first season. So it's when the group is trying to still figure out each other. And basically you have Shirley, who is a devout Christian, and she's like, I'm celebrating baby Jesus and all of the, and then she's just assumes everyone else in their group is going to celebrate Christmas the way she celebrates the holidays. And then she finds out, I think one is Jewish, one is agnostic, one is whatever Pierce Chevy Chase Troy, Donald Glover's character is Jehovah's Witness.
Yep.
And dealing with all these emotions of like, what do the holidays mean for you and how do you celebrate, and how, she wants to force her version of the holidays onto her friends, and how
it's about the war on Christmas.
Yeah, and how detrimental that is. And she passes out these "What would baby Jesus do" bracelets to them and things like that. And as she's like, well, we'll be inclusive and we'll take all your guys' like bring your traditions. And she's like shoving the menorah in the Christmas tree and hiding the stuff. And one of the subplots then throughout the whole thing, Jeff is one of the main characters in Community, the kind of the douchey character of the show, the
lawyer,
the dentist,
the dentist, the John's Comics with Kids character of the show, if you want.
Correct. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's very winger.
That's fair. That's accurate.
Yeah. So he stands up for Abed at one point, and these kind of like douchey bullies then in a community college want to fight him, and so like and we're getting to realize Jeff's never fought, so that's besides the point. Shirley finds out that he's going to fight, and she's getting upset because she's like, you don't fight on Christmas. And his whole point is, what do you mean? It's like December 12th. It's not Christmas. Like, I can fight on this day. And like, so trying to balance this, and he comes to the realization, he's like, I'm not going to fight. He gets punched still. And then Shirley sees it, and she's like, go for it. And this is just the absurdity of Community. They then all are just like, half the guys' shirts are ripped off as they're like, and like 6-pack abs as they're like punching each other with candy canes in the Winter Wonderland diorama that's outside the community college. And it is hysterical to me. And you have your Troy and Abed just moments, which are pure gold.
Those are always good moments.
And it just hits all the right notes for me when you're talking about the thematical elements of Christmas episodes, or holiday themed episodes.
Ryan, are you a Community fan?
I am, and that's one of the other comedies that I forgot to mention earlier when I was doing my super mega comedy binge on my overnight job with my tablet. Community is maybe my favorite network TV sitcom. Like, I guess Arrested Development is really good.
Kind of thing, yeah.
But like Community is something special, and like, I'm really glad you didn't pick the claymation one, because that one felt to me like really gimmicky, and I don't remember a lot of the show because it's been several years and I've only binged it one time. But the ones that stick out are like the ones that kind of were gimmicky, unfortunately.
Sure.
And like a lot of the greater moments are lost in the shuffle. And I need to go back and rewatch this entire show because I don't remember this at all.
I want to rewatch that one again as well. Yeah, that's a great one.
I mean, but that's the thing too about Community. They do a lot of pop cultural references, but it's not like, it's almost like higher tier pop culture references. Like the dinner
My Dinner with Andre.
Yeah. that episode on Community.
So funny.
Like
So
how
funny.
many, and I think that's why Community was a hit or miss episode, because it was so highbrow comedy almost that if you didn't get those references of some of those movies that people didn't watch or TV shows, it fell flat for you because you didn't get to the level. So it was interesting. Yeah.
But that's part of what I like about it, because I've never seen that movie, and I get when I'm watching that show and it's a reference that I know I don't get, but I know it's a reference to something. It's kind of how I felt when I was watching The Sopranos for the first time at 13, when I was like, I know this is a good show, and I know it's deep, and it's a little smarter than I am right now, and I don't have the brain power to fully like process all of this. But it's like Greg says, like, I have no idea what's going on, but I love it. And
but I know it's good.
That's like one of Greg's catchphrases on our weekly show, and I felt that way about Community on some parts. When I even don't know the specific reference, it's still solid.
That's my go-to. That's my go-to when I'm reading a comic. I don't know what's going on, but I know I like it. But
yeah, that's the sweet spot for Greg.
Yeah, it is. And to mention Tyler, I didn't pick The Office just because I felt everyone would think I would, and so I will say the best Christmas episode is the one with the Yankee swap. It's better than Benihana Christmas, and I like it better. I even like it better than the Bell Schnitzel.
Yeah, the Yankey swap one is amazing.
I didn't put it on there because I felt like everyone would think of that. So,
and here's what I noticed.
I probably
Here's what I noticed about the Seinfeld episode, the Festivus one, is it's in that last season of Seinfeld, and it's just not as tight. I mean, the Festivus stuff is really good, but the other parts of the episode,
the strike with the bagel,
not.
Yeah,
the strike is the one that the Festivus was in.
Yes,
right. Yeah. The one that's better is the nip slip where Elaine puts out a Christmas card that Kramer took, where you can see her nipple in the Christmas card she sends out. Is a way better Christmas episode, just so you know. I laughed. Rewatching both of them, I laughed a lot more in the nip slip one.
Speaking of which, I still have your Christmas card on my fridge. Speaking of Christmas cards,
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, just the Christmas card. No nipples. No nipples were visible.
But that is a way funnier episode of Seinfeld. I think it's season 4 or something like that. But really a funny episode of Seinfeld on so many levels. It's called The Pick because it's the one when Jerry gets caught trying to pick his nose by his date. And so she decides to dump him because she thinks he picks the nose. And you've got Kramer taking the nude picture. You've got Elaine having to like have all of her relationships. Everyone who got the card is like now affected by the Christmas card she sent.
John just
so good.
John just literally scared me. I'm sending out my Christmas cards. I'm like, I want to make sure John doesn't have a nip slip of me on his fridge. So,
but it's not worth hanging. But that one for me, it was that episode's called The Pick, and it's for me, it's superior to the strike episode, which is the Festivus one from the final season.
Well, I think the overall episode that you're talking about is a better episode than the strike. Like you said, the elements of the Festivus is good. And that's what sticks out for people as they remember it because it's the overall episode with like Jerry with his like, oh, you got to sit in the back corner of the diner because you look pretty and you don't like it. Just it doesn't hit as well as the other episode does in completeness.
All right, let's get to Ryan's last one. It's time for that Scrooge, and I this was the best image I could find.
Okay, that's a good one. This doesn't scream Christmas, but that's kind of why it works. This is the same show that I mentioned before. I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. It's a sketch comedy series, and each episode contains 4 or 5 different sketches. And the way this particular episode opens is with this character here in like a mech suit in the future, shooting enemies off screen, and you have no idea what's happening. And then it cuts to the credits, and it seems like that was just a weird one-off little moment with this random mech warrior dude. But then it cuts to, now showing everyone's holiday favorite, Scrooge Saves Christmas or something. And it's your typical kind of Scrooge intro where he's waking up and climbing out of bed. And suddenly this same mech warrior dude bursts through the wall in Scrooge's apartment and is like, Scrooge! He's firing off his like hand guns and like I'm the ghost of Christmas way future. And like from the year 3050 or something, and he comes back to get Scrooge to help him fight like an army of skeleton. The show doesn't make sense. The show is ridiculous, and I love it, and it's random, and I completely forgot this was even like Christmas adjacent. But yes, chaos. I totally lied about
my favorite episode of any of the sketch of any of the two episodes you had me watch was that Scrooge. He's coming from the future, and he's like, the skeleton warriors are coming, and we got to fight this guy. It's like,
that was your favorite. I want to know what other sketches are, because I hope
so good.
I hope you didn't miss up on my favorite one.
I don't know,
because everyone's got different favorite sketches from that show. Like that's the beauty of it. Like it's very hit or miss from everybody I've showed it to. Like I showed Comic Tom, and he does not like that show at all. My brother doesn't like that
Gilmore
show at
Girls a lot, but I don't think it would make my top 5. Riley, I've watched the entire series, and some of them many times. My wife and I are big fans, but I don't think it's going to crack my top 5. But
I'm curious. I gotta know, Ryan, what episode though did you tell Tom to watch?
The very first skit I showed him, which might have been a mistake. It speaks very highly. It works for me, and I think it was in the episode we sent to John. Actually, it's the one where there's like a court deposition of these two people who are accused of engaging in like what's the word, fraud or some kind of like insider trading.
Insider trading. Yep.
And this lawyer is reading off these people's texts, these incriminating text messages,
and the guy with the hat.
Yeah, in between their conversation about like selling off shares of the stock, they're also making fun of their coworker who has this stupid, ridiculous hat, and like she's reading off these. It's silly, it's funny, it's hilarious, and Tom didn't laugh once, and he did not get it.
Is that the only sketch you showed him?
No, I also showed him the one where they have the tour of the haunted house. Like the adult tour, like it's after hours and all the kids are gone.
Funny.
Where you can say whatever you want. He's like, I don't get it. I can say whatever I want. Why are you guys being offended?
Yeah, and he just starts randomly shouting out like sexual curse words, like really
like,
weird.
Did the ghost do this thing in the house? And they're like, why do
you ever have any ghosts like burst out of the wall and just take a big poop all over the floor? Like really weird questions he's asking on a tour, and like,
and so
also did not work.
Tom passed on the entire thing.
Yeah, he doesn't have the right level of intelligence for a show like that. That's okay.
Give him. I feel like you give him at least Calico Pants. See what happens with Calico Pants.
That's a solid top notch sketch for me.
If Calico Pants doesn't hit it for Tom, it's not going to, and that's fine. But make him watch Calico Pants.
So I had never heard of this show until Ryan mentioned it while we were prepping, and so this is the series on Netflix. I Think You Should Leave is what it's called.
Tessa, Ryan told me to watch it, and it is my obsession. So,
okay. So I got one, and I guess
Mr. and Mrs. Bearded, you can count both.
I'll count it as 2 because
she likes it as well. She likes it too, but she'll awkwardly say that.
I've seen only 2 episodes, and I would say half of them I thought were really funny, and half of the sketches I thought were.
Isn't that sketch?
I didn't make any noise at all during. So it was definitely a 50-50 thing, but the ones I laughed at, I thought were very funny. So.
But I mean, think about SNL, right? Like, and you can say what you want about current SNL. Think about the original SNL stuff, right?
No, I understand what you're saying about consistency in sketch.
Sketch comedy, I think, is very hit or miss on there too, because you will have people that will regale the days of Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Eddie Murphy on SNL,
because they only watch the highlight reels.
Right.
They
only watch the highlights because they didn't watch it. If you watch season 1 of SNL, there are going to be skits that miss the mark,
or whole episodes.
And so that's where it's like when people just watch an episode, it's like SNL. You usually, if you get 1 or 2 like good sketches, it's a win.
That's a hit show. Yeah, exactly.
For the record, my favorite era of SNL is the MacGruber. What the hell's his name? Will Forte, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, the Sudeikis era, like the late 2000s, early 2010s. That's my favorite era.
Which I was just thinking about that. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I love that era. I grew up on the Chris Farley, Adam Sandler,
Mike Myers.
That
was my era. Yeah.
What's it? Tim Meadows.
Yes. Well, I mean, Tim Meadows was like 4 generations of.
I know, but like the Tim Meadows, like the ladies' man, Tim Meadows.
Right.
One of my favorite is when Tim Meadows does the survey, The guy's going. I think Christopher Walken was in it. He's going door to door to do like the census. And man, it's a funny sketch. I love it. But
Nice.
we digress.
We do.
Ryan, anything else you want to say about the Scrooge dealing with
That's not a
skeletons from the future?
favorite sketch of mine. I just love how when the guy transports back to Scrooge times in the 1800s or whatever, like also some skeleton warriors hitch a ride back on the time portal.
They're coming through. He's beating him off with a cane.
It's really ridiculous, and it's not one of my favorite moments from the show, but it's Christmas, so I thought it was relevant.
Absolutely.
Of course, Chaos was a mad TV guy. Look what I can do. Look what I can do.
Ugh, shots fired. Well, we're going to finish with a show that I really loved, but also had several really good Christmas episodes. And I picked one that maybe people wouldn't normally have picked. I do really love The West Wing, and in particular, the episode Noel, which clearly obviously takes place at Christmas. And in that way is meeting Ryan's key elements of, is it a Christmas episode? There's a lot of Christmas themed elements going on there, but the thing I really love about it is it's all about PTSD, and specifically a character dealing with a gunshot wound. Months later, the physical wound has healed, but the psychological wound has not. And they're being triggered every day by noises at work. So in the episode, Bradley Whitford's character was seriously wounded, almost died from a gunshot wound to the chest. And now we're at like months later. It's almost been a year, maybe like 8 months later. He is, every time he hears certain music, it sounds like sirens to him, and he starts having a mental anxiety breakdown, and he doesn't connect the music to what happened to him. So he is, very angry all the time. He's very short-tempered with people, and a couple of outbursts lead to them bringing in a trauma specialist to help him get through what he's going through. And so he sits down. The whole episode's in flashback. He's basically sitting down with Adam Arkin, great actor, as this trauma therapist. And he's talking about what happened in the last week and a couple of incidents that have led him to deal with something that he'd been holding off dealing with. And Adam Arkin comes in several times in the show as a trauma therapist in certain events on the show. But this episode in particular was really powerful, as you get to see if you watch it knowing what's happening to Bradley Whitford's character, every time you see him interact with music, you see him ratchet up what's going on inside of him. They have, each day in the lobby of the West Wing, they're having like carol singers or a bagpipe band or a brass quintet playing Christmas songs. And every time a new group starts up, you can see that he is getting anxious and he's getting frustrated, and he can't disconnect. At one point he even screams like, God, like this, I'm hearing the sirens everywhere in this place. And then he realizes the misstep, and he's like, no, it's the bagpipes, they're driving me crazy. And he's not connecting why it's upsetting him. And he's just never dealt with what happened to him. And it's a beautiful look at PTSD and done in the guise of the holidays and holiday music being traumatizing to your soul.
Well, that's true.
I watched the wrong West Wing Christmas episode. I watched the other one.
The other one is really good. So the other one that's popular, In Excelsis Deo, is the other really popular episode for Christmas time. And they are constantly referencing this. Josh, how did you cut your hand? Because he's got a hand in, he has harmed himself. He has started injuring himself as a way to deal with this. And he's unwilling to admit how the injury to his hand happened. He's been lying about it to everybody. And the therapist finally breaks through to him to figure out, like, but what did you really do to your hand? And he's got this lie where he like, oh, I moved a cup and I set it down and it broke and I cut my hand. And everybody knows it's a lie, but they can't get him to confront it. In Excelsis Deo, did you end up watching that one?
I did. I watched that, and because that was where President he's doing the tree ceremony with the kids, and there was the I think it was the LGBT the kid he was a gay kid who gets basically bullied and killed. And it's kind of one of those like, hey, we got to pull you away from the situation and talk about those aspects of the politics. And you know, and he's looking for a rare book for a friend. And it was a great episode that I will say the one you're talking about feels a little more Christmas theme. Like
Perhaps.
this feels like it was a little bit more of like, it was just placed with like, hey, we have a Christmas tree in the background.
Right.
That's all you need.
The best parts of that episode are the ones where you have a character who had donated a jacket to the Goodwill.
Yeah, and he's going
and
around.
A Vietnam vet is found dead wearing the jacket, and his business card was in it. And so the police call him to say, like, how did this guy get your jacket? And he doesn't know the vet, but he's willing to say, like, why aren't we, calling the VA? Why aren't we doing things for this soldier? And it leads him down a rabbit hole of like, what are we doing for our vets? And why are we treating our veterans the way we're treating them? Which is that Christmas journey is really beautiful, but the rest of the episode doesn't match up.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. That part is he tracks down like to a thrift shop. He goes to,
he finds the brother in the homeless of that
in
vet
the homeless community under the bridge. Like, yeah.
And Mrs. Landingham, the secretary, who talks about how her 2 twin sons died in
the war,
Korea or Vietnam. I don't remember which.
And
how she had never really talked about it before, but seeing what Richard Schiff's character Toby is going through in that episode, like, really makes her want to go to the funeral service that they end up having for the soldier.
Yep.
So for me, I like Noel better just because it really focuses on one character, but you see everybody and how they're reacting to him. So everybody gets a part to play, but it's all through the guise of this one character not dealing with his trauma, not dealing with his mental issues. Again, mental health is the main element.
Right.
Ryan's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I know of the West Wing.
Santa shows up in it, Ryan. It's okay.
Oh, so it is about Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's got Yo-Yo Ma too. Yo-Yo,
everyone's favorite Christmas artist.
It's really about music and the impact of music too, because the main character is dealing with at the very end is like Yo-Yo Ma is doing a concerto, and he hears sirens mixed with the music. Like, he can't separate the noise in his mind. It just doesn't. He can't stop reliving what happened to him.
I need to go back and rewatch all of the West Wing, because it was one of those, I watched it, my parents would have it on and I watched it with them, but I never watched it consistently.
I never saw it.
I think it's a really interesting show. I think I understand people who might feel it's way too political and that they don't care for one side being represented more than the other. I do feel like it's certainly informative on how politics work, because it's definitely a lot about the bartering system and some of the flaws in our political system. And there are a ton of people who do not understand how laws work and how the branches of our government work. And you can learn a lot about that system through the show, but obviously it's not reality. It's designed to be entertainment.
I will watch the show and then I will watch you and Coach Vic break it down. That's a podcast I would watch. As I watch the show, then you guys break down the shows.
Coach Vic and I go episode by episode. Isn't there? Doesn't like Joshua Molina and a couple of the cast members? Don't they?
Yeah,
do
but
that?
I don't like them. I like you guys. I like
There's
Coach Vic.
There's an OC rewatch podcast, Greg, that I am currently listening to.
Ooh,
it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not my favorite.
So Ryan, are you saying we should rewatch the OC episodes and do a podcast on it?
I'm good. Because I got enough commitment in my life.
Because there's a market for it.
At least this show is hosted by 2 actresses from the OC, so it's like I actually care, and they bring on like crew members and cast members, just like the Sopranos rewatch podcast that I'm also currently enjoying. But Greg and Ryan watch the OC is not really anything that's gonna succeed on any level.
I call shenanigans on this. I guarantee you, if Ryan and I did a show of the OC rewatch, Tessa would tune in.
But she wouldn't like it.
She's
watched everything I have done.
She wouldn't like it, but she would watch it. There's no doubt about it.
And she's seen at least the first season and a half or so.
Gore, I think it certainly dealt with politics more realistically, more frustrating, the frustrating aspects for sure. Absolutely.
And I love politics, and I love politics in entertainment. I love House of Cards. I love Veep. I even like 24. That's barely political, but I really like that show. But I've always steered clear of the West Wing because I feel like it's gonna be a little too 90s for me, and like pre-2000s TV is always kind of like a struggle for me to get into, and so I feel like it might be tough.
What we've learned about Ryan is anything that came out before he was in middle school is garbage video movies, and which isn't not true because you actually watch a lot of old school movies on HBO Max.
I do love old movies.
But not TV shows.
Twin Peaks is about as old of a TV show as I like love.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of any other show that's pre-Twin Peaks. Like I Love Lucy is cool.
Yeah, but you don't love Twin Peaks enough to come out to Lexington in March and meet all the characters of Twin Peaks that are going to be at a Comic-Con with me.
No,
so
good.
What I would say though, Ryan, for what one thing the West Wing has going for it is the fact that at least the first 4 years, Aaron Sorkin is an amazingly talented writer. So at least if nothing else, you're getting a top tier talent, either writing every single word or overseeing every single word. Because he was basically pretty meticulous. He was not letting other people just write full episodes of the show. He was definitely overseeing it, snorting his coke and doing his drugs and writing all the episodes. He was I hear it was so addicted at some points that he was just passing pages under the door and not letting anybody in. Just here's the new pages for the day. And then like pass
all of my favorite art is fueled by cocaine. So that works.
I mean, he legitimately admits that that's where he was mentally in that place.
I liked the Newsroom well enough, and that was Sorkin. I think that's the only Sorkin thing I've.
I think if you liked the Newsroom,
you not watch Sunset on Studio? What was it?
Studio Rock, man.
Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
See, I watched both shows.
I watched everything he's ever done.
Some
I loved and some I liked.
Was Sorkin connected with Sports Night?
Yeah, it was his show.
Yeah, Sports Night. Well, you don't like sports, so that never mind. But Sports Night.
But again, great. It's not about sports. It's about reporting. It's about journalism.
It's about Christmas.
In some ways.
No, it's not even about that. And even the episode where it's like, episode where it was the baseball episode where he was talking about breaking down the highlights of the guys like how they talk about sports.
The storm clouds are gathering.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Sports.
I think he's just a really talented writer, period. And I think in that way you could get into most anything he's doing just because he presents it in a way that where you're like, wow, this is fascinating. Even if it's computer nerds creating Facebook, you're still able to like find an entry point because it's Aaron Sorkin writing it.
See, Tessa's going to the Comic-Con with me. So Ryan, if you want to come hang out with us, let us know.
My issue is like, I feel like why would I go to Kentucky to visit the cast members when I live in Washington where they filmed it and I haven't even
cool. Are Tessa and I in Kentucky? Or yes. Are we in Seattle with you? No.
I'll just go all by myself to the waterfall where the opening credits were and the diner where they filmed most of the scenes from Twin Peaks. The girl who was murdered at the start of the show, her house is like 5 minutes away from Tom's house. So I drive past that place like all the time on accident or on purpose.
But you're missing a key element. Tessa or I are not there, so
that's true.
He's choosing to intelligently overlook that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 2 hours in. We have gone through 15 Christmas-themed episodes in quotes, and I appreciate you all hanging for at least a portion of that. The channels for these two gentlemen are down below. You should definitely check out the things they've been doing because Ryan has been hosting a lot more in the last few months, hopefully more in the near future. Greg dropping consistently, several episodes of his shows every week. I don't know how you're missing out on this content.
Y'all, and gang, spoiler alert, I'm dropping an episode on Wednesday that I feel is going to send some ripples through the comic community. Because we're doing episode 4 of Mrs. Bearded Reads a Comic.
Uh-oh.
And gang, she trashes Saga.
I mean, that's fine. I know a lot of people that don't like it, for sure.
I don't hate it, but I don't get it. I mean, I don't get the love for it. It's great,
think that's where she's at. I don't think she loved it, but she's like, I don't get this. And
I don't hate it by any means.
I will just say this. It's a 40-minute episode that I am trimming down to 15 minutes because I got to cut some stuff here. We can't say this on air.
I'm excited to see that. And
will
if you haven't
actually
been
watch
watching, Ryan's been doing live shows with Comic Tom almost every other week. And then throughout the week, you can see some of the highlights dropped on the Comic Tom 101 YouTube channel. So there's some great content with Ryan over there as well. So thanks, guys, for coming. And we're going to get out of here so people can actually go to bed. Good night,
Good night.
everybody.